while he's breastfeeding on his mother, that will be easier. Just give the salah to the mother, and he's going to take it through the milk. And if you can't, so you're going to give small quantities of for the baby. So I said half a liter for an adult, so just half a glass or a glass for a baby or a small child, just according to his weight. Yes?
If the father is masroor, can he give the sihr to his offspring?
The sihr can pass from the father to the child, but it is much less, very more rare. But it does happen, it can happen. But mostly it will go from the mother to the child. Okay, so this is the first case of sihr. The second case is sihr put in the body. So the first one eaten, is treated by sana. Second case, in the body. So how is sihr put in the body? They send the jinn and they put the sihr in the body of the person. It could be anywhere. It could be in his brain. It could be in his chest. It could also be in his stomach. It could be eaten, and at the same time there's some sihr put in his stomach. It could be in his private parts. It could be in legs. It could be anywhere, anyway, in the body. And how do you recognize this? It gives pains. Two things. It gives two things: pains and dysfunction. For example, if it's in the brain, he will have headaches, and he will not be able to learn and to concentrate. He will be forgetting, and he can also become crazy. If it is, for example, for women to stop them having children, it will be put in the ovaries or in the womb, and that will stop them having children, and mostly that will give them a lot of pain in their menses. And it can also stop women having sexual relations, to block them totally, and it can stop them getting married. Anything related to sexual life, etc. So sometimes this sihr is put in the body only to keep a jinn in the body. So they'll put, for example, sihr in your shoulder, and you have something hurting you in the shoulder, and there's a jinn there, and it is meant to block your life, and it is there. And whatever you do to remove that jinn, you can't, because he's attached to that, you see. So anyway, how do we remove that sihr? With cupping, with hijama. We remove it with hijama. So we will put hijama on all the places where people have either pains, either things that are not functioning, dysfunction in their body. So for example, if someone cannot concentrate, cannot learn, we'll do hijama on his head. And if he has pain in his head, we'll do hijama on his head. You see, either of each, pains or dysfunctioning. Now, how can we be sure that that pain or that dysfunctioning is due to sihr and jinns and ayn? Well, we cannot be sure. And we will do hijama anyway. Because the Prophet said that hijama is a remedy for 40 diseases. So as long as the person is cured, I had, for example, one patient, one girl, she had lots of problems and she followed treatment. Alhamdulillah, all her problems went away and she was fully cured by the grace of Allah Ta'ala. And she told me, really, I'm not sure that all this is a question of sihr. I said, no problem. As long as you're cured and everything's fine in your life and you paid me my money, so alhamdulillah, you can go now. Even if you don't believe it is sihr and jinn, alhamdulillah, your problems have gone. I have got my money, and that's it. Alhamdulillah. So even if you're not sure, and because even if you have a natural pain, for example, you broke your knee and your knee is paining you, so if a jinn will come into your body, he will be likely to go in your knee. He will find that weak place and he will go sit there and he will get it going worse. You see, that is likely to happen. So even if that pain has a cause, because this happened or you had an operation or something, so no matter, no problem, still do hijama. You must do hijama. I'm giving you another example. I had a guy who came and he was blocked in his life, in his business, and he didn't have any health problem, but he had a little pain in his behind his shoulder there, just a little thing disturbing him, you see. And I said, well, yes, we must do hijama on that. So we did hijama on that. But when we did the jinn catching, I'm going to explain to you the jinn catching tomorrow, inshallah, for those who will be here. But anyway, we brought the jinns that are with him, and I told him, what are you doing? He said, I'm blocking his life. And I said, what are you saying? He said, he's staying in that place behind his shoulder, you see. And that's where the sihr has been put, you see. So it is very delicate, because if you don't do the hijama on that, so the sihr is not going to go, and the jinn is not going to go, and the case is not solved, and he has the same problem. So we have done everything, ruqyah, reading, giving him water to wash and everything, for no result, you see. So it is very, very important not to miss any place of hijab. Before we used hijama for women, yes? If it's on the private part, we put it just over it on the pubis. You shave it and you put it there. And for any part that we cannot reach, for example the eyes, well, we'll put it next to the eyes, around here, or maybe on the forehead, etc. So any place you cannot reach it itself, we'll put closest place. So some people, for example, have a big cut, so we put it next to the cut. Or some people have skin problems, eczema, and that eczema, that skin is it cannot hold on to it because it's not smooth. So we put it as close as possible. Okay. What was I saying? So for a woman that had sihr in her ovaries and cannot have children, before using hijama, we used to do ruqyah on her 7 times to remove that sihr. So she will come, we will go to read Quran on her, she will go, she will wash with the water in her house for several days, and come back, another treatment, 7 times, follow the treatment to remove that sihr. And alhamdulillah, with hijama, it will go straight away, on spot, bi'idhnillah tabarak wa ta'ala. And most patients, all the pains they have, it will go on spot when we do hijama. So it is very important when you are treating someone not to forget to put any hijab. And I remind you again, hijab, we put it for 2 purposes, either having pains or dysfunctioning. So if something is not functioning, even if it's not giving pains, we'll put hijab. And if there is pain, so we also put hijab. Yeah.
So the ladies downstairs are asking what's hijama. If you could just tell them.
Cupping. Hijama is cupping. Okay? And practical, yeah, that's good. If ladies have a question, they can send an SMS to their husbands here or relatives. This is new technology. What am I saying? For the practical teaching of hijama, as I said, all practical teachings will not take place here, but in the Ruqyah Center that you have in those leaflets in East Ham, inshallah. What I was saying, so the cupping we do in the Ruqyah is a bit different than the other kinds of cupping. Well, Rasulullah said that hijama is a remedy for 40 diseases. And according to the thing you are trying to cure, the way to apply the hijama will be a bit different. So for instance, for ruqyah hijama, we don't need to take a lot of blood. So we're going to cut very, very little cuts, very, very small cuts, and it will only give some drops of blood. And it's just an exit, just a way out for sihr and jinns in the body. So our object is not to take a lot of blood. It's not a disease in the blood or in the muscles or in the whatever that we're trying to remove. It is just a way out to remove sihr and jinn. So it is very light. And being very light and very superficial, it will not leave any cuts any marks on the person. So that allows us to do lots of them. And also, there are some days that are better for hijama, and some days that are better not to do, but all the hadith that say not to do hijama on such and such days are da'if. And you get sahih hadith recommending some days, but you don't get any sahih hadith saying not to do on some days. So in ruqyah, we use hijama all year through. All year through, any time of the day. You can be fasting or not fasting, so we do it all the time. And actually, as treatment for jinn and sihr, we don't see any difference. Because the jinn is here, the sihr is here. So whenever we do hijama, it's going to be removed, and that's it. Now, I'll just say a bit for hijama on the head. When someone is having a problem on the head, we do hijama on the neck, and just under the neck, on the bone that is under the neck. If the problem in the head is much more, is very bigger, I mean, either it will be a lot of pain, someone having too much headaches, or unable to learn, or madness, so that hijama on the neck will not be enough. You will have to put hijama on the head. And putting hijama on the head, you have the options you have is to put it on the forehead, or to shave the head and to put it on the head itself. So if you put it on the forehead or the head, so it's going to give a lot of pain, because it will be put on the bone instead of being put on the flesh, and that will be that will be paining a lot. And it's also going to leave a mark on the person for about 1 week. So if you put it on your forehead, you'll have a nice blue round mark, and everybody's going to be telling you what's happened to you, what's happened to you, did you knock a door, did you knock a wall, what's happened to you. So that's it. So if someone is working or going to school, it might be difficult for him. But the other option is to put it on the head. So, well, of course, for women, we will try to avoid this as much as we can. But if it is necessary, we will do it, because the health of the person is more important than his beauty. So on the head, we will mostly put it in the middle of the head. You see where the hair comes out when it's turning round and round. So we will go to shave a roundabout and put the hijama there, inshallah. So I'm telling you, because I had one patient who was in Africa, and she could not study. She was suffering too many headaches. I said, well, so in that case, you must shave your head, and you're going to put hijab all over your head. So she did it, and alhamdulillah, she got better. But this is extreme cases, but we will do it if it is necessary, because health is more important than having nice hair. So this is the hijama, and this is the second sort, the second kind of sihr that is put in the body, and we treat it with hijama. So hijama, we start doing it, cupping, we start doing it for children 8, 9 years old. It depends on their body, because if they are smaller than that, it's going to give them too much pain. They're going to be screaming all over the ruqyah. And also when they are young, we just wash them with Quranic water and bathe them with and massage them with the oil. It will be enough for small children. They don't really need hijama. But if they do need, if even a smaller child will need hijama, so we will do it whatever age he will have, and he will be crying and screaming. Well, too bad, we will just have to go through it. That's it. So now I said that sihr can be done in 4 different ways. First is eating. That is treated by salah. Second is in the body. That is treated by cupping. And the third kind of sihr is symbolic. So what does that mean? That means they use symbols to harm the person, as the symbol of knots. As Allah Ta'ala says, نَفَثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ, those who blow on the knots, they will attach knots, and that means that they're attaching your life, or they're attaching your mind, or they're attaching your womb so you don't do children, or they're attaching your relations so you get confused with people. So that is symbols. And sorcery uses symbols very much, as they did for Rasulullah. They took his hair, and his hair is symbolizing himself. The hair symbolizes the person, but on one particular side of the person is the mind. So the hair is used most to affect the mind and the thinking of the person. And that was happening to Rasulullah because he was imagining things. And then they put the knots, so that is to tie your mind so you can't think. And then they put it in the skull of a hyena. And then they put it in a well, in a dry well that is used for toilets. Under the stone, people sit on to do their toilet, you see. So all that is to make bad, hyena is used in sihr to drive someone crazy. That's, in Arabic, the name of hyena is related to the name of being crazy. But in other cultures, I don't know. So this is the symbols. So sihr uses symbols. Sihr, sorcery itself is just words. Sorcery itself is just words. If you take that hair and the knot and the skull and the well, etc., without saying anything, that will have no effect. It is those words that are recited, those satanic words that are recited, that are the sihr itself, and all the other elements are making it stronger. Okay, it is just used to improve and to increase the effect of the sihr. And it is it's like our treatment. Our treatment is Quran, but the water and the hijama and the sana and all that will increase and develop the effect of Quran. You see? So in the same way, the sihr